It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing David Lopez, who founded Dental Fix RX, and I can't believe this stuff. So I'm driving into work today, and I'm going to go podcast you, and look what I took on. Can you see that?
I could see it. Great.
Oh, my God. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm driving in to podcast the founder of the Faster Fix. Dental Fix Service and Equipment, Arizona license plate, and I got up beside the guy. I had to drive 1,000,000 miles an hour to catch up with him, and I'm waving at him, and he's probably looking at me like, who the hell is that stupid idiot driving down the road? But anyway, he started that Dental Fix RX 11 years ago. He started repairing handpieces, then founded Tralongo and Conversion Whale, merged the companies together, and acquired Scott Loon's Breakaway practice and Front Office Rocks. They've all been on the show, and formed Dental Whale. Talk about a whale. That is just like 5 monster companies all rolled up into one. His purpose is to improve dental health for everyone. And he's accomplishing this by creating breakthroughs in dental practice management through insight and innovation, with an innovative dental company carving a new category of group private practice ownership and management. Dental Whale subsidiary companies provide practice management, support services, and continuing education, comprised of the largest dental repair franchise in North America, a dental marketing company, a dental practice brokerage firm, a national dental group practice, clinical and business seminars, a dental consulting company, and a dental front desk services company. Dental Whale and its 800-plus team members serviced more than 17,000 dentists who served more than 1 million patients in 2017. He's a serial entrepreneur. Lopez founded his first business as a student at the University of Central Florida at the age of 19. And speaking of Florida, shout out to my classmate Cesar Sabatez, first Florida dentist to become the president-elect of the American Dental Association. So next year he will be the president. He's the first dentist from Florida, first Cuban, first Hispanic, but he was the smartest guy in the class of 87. Just don't tell John Fluke, because me and John Fluke, we each think we are, but it's really Cesar Sabatez. So we've had Scott Loon on the show 3 times. He's the Breakaway. Laura Hatch, we've had her on the show once, twice, 3 times. My gosh, and she's made a lot of CE from us. So have you basically acquired Laura Hatch's Front Office Rock and Scott Loon's Breakaway practice and merged it with your Dental FX?
Yeah, with Dental Whale, yes.
It's all rolled into Dental Whale. Well, my God, congratulations on being the Dental Whale. And so tell us your vision and your journey. And it sounds like, and to the kids in school, I just want to throw out one thing. Sounds like you're doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And whenever I found an office when I was growing up that was doing more than 2 million, like 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. It was always the same thing. And that is, whenever the old man across the street was getting ready to retire, instead of letting him sell that practice to some young kid with a bunch of energy, he bought the old man out, rolled the practice into his, and then the old man would stay on for a year or two. And I know one guy, I know several people that were started out in a tent of about 10,000 people, with maybe 10 dentists. And 30 years later, that town's down to 5 dentists. He's doing $4 million a year. So it sounds like you're a big M&A activity guy. Is that a great way to summarize you, mergers and acquisitions?
You know, I completed my first acquisition at the age of 21. So I bought a competing smoothie chain with 7 locations and merged them in to Fruits. So I have a lot of experience in mergers and acquisitions, but I don't know that I consider myself a big M&A person. The moves that we made in Dental Whale were intentional for specific reasons, going after a specific purpose for an opportunity that we see in the marketplace.
And what is that opportunity? So when I was a kid, I'm 58, every pharmacist owned his own shop, whether he owned the real estate. I mean, just like dentistry and vets and whatever. And now they all go rolled up into Walgreens and CDC. And now when I got out of school, I saw the first round of these DSOs were Lazarus, started rolling up orthodontic practices into Orthodontic Centers of America. And that was the first round. It didn't really work out. It failed miserably. But now the second round is back, and I'm in ground zero. I'm in Arizona, where the highest DSO penetration, where 18.6 out of every 100 dentists work for a DSO in Arizona. Is that, when you say opportunity, is that the opportunity you see where dentistry is conglomerating and consolidating?
No. From my perspective, how I see it is the purpose, the reason why is dentistry being consolidated. And for me, the opportunity that I saw was, I didn't really understand anything about dentistry. I was in the equipment repair business. Then through the equipment repair business, I started a relationship with a dentist, and we started acquiring dental practices together. And then I started a dental marketing company. So I went from having no experience running a dental practice, but I had a lot of experience running other businesses. So, and what I was very confused by is how difficult it was to run a dental practice. So I like to break it down, just very easy to understand. If I run a dental practice and I'm a dentist, not only do I have to be an expert clinician, but I have to understand how to run this small business. But the business side of it is set up so inefficient that the problem as to why it is so difficult to run your practice is because of all the inefficiencies that are set up. And the inefficiencies are set up because the market exists of 150,000 individually owned dental practices that have fragmented service providers, solution providers, all these different people selling all these things to the dentist, and that's the issue. That's how I saw it anyway.
Okay, well, I'm so honored to get you on the show that I'm going to go slow. You're going to have to go slow with me because my IQ is the same as the room temperature of Barrows, Arizona, Alaska. So you started with Dental Fixer. So first, I want to harvest all your brain thoughts on Dental Fixer with some easy questions. Do you think a dentist, if he buys the most expensive A-deck chair in the short run, that in the long run it's cheaper because it'll still be fine 100 million years from now, as opposed to if he bought a cheap chair, he'll always need the Dental Fixer to come out every so often to fix it up? So
the way a dental practice should be set up is in the smallest footprint possible, with the least amount of equipment that does the job that you need. So the challenge that you have is that most dentists are sold their office by people that are in the business of selling equipment. So when you're in the business of selling equipment and cabinetry, et cetera, you're going to build big offices with a lot of space with extra equipment. So from my perspective, you are crazy as a startup dentist to buy extraordinarily expensive equipment. That's like saying, hey, I'm going to go buy a car and my first car is going to be a Rolls Royce. You just don't need it. What you need is a Toyota, a Honda that is going to be dependable. It's going to be long lasting. It's not going to be expensive to repair. I'd say that's how I'd look at an office if it was me.
Specific though, a dental chair. If you were starting an office today, would you buy an expensive A-deck, or is there a low-cost one because you have a lot of data on repairs? I mean, you've been doing dental repairs for a long time. So what is the Toyota? What is the Honda in a dental chair? A low-cost chair that isn't going to need to be in the repair shop all the time.
I'd prefer not to give a name on this call just because of specific reasons. We're in a lot of conversations with a lot of manufacturers that are selling their chairs through us, and I don't want to take any biases, but I would say that I'd look at the bell curve, and something that's on the top of the price point, I would definitely stay away from. Something on the bottom of the price point, I'd probably stay away from. If it was me, I'd go for the stuff in the middle. And I think if they've been around for 10 plus years and they're in the middle of the bell curve, that is the chair that I would go for.
Can you name any companies in the middle of the bell curve?
I mean, there's, I'd prefer not to.
Okay. And to the kids out there, we call that channel conflict. So, I mean, it'd be like getting an orthodontist on the program and saying, okay, 10 guys in Ahwatukee refer to you, who's the worst dentist after Howard? And then, he doesn't want to say because he's getting cases from these guys. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay. So, that was Dental Fixer. What has changed? This is my second rodeo with a virus. The first one was AIDS, HIV, 87. That changed dentistry in multiple ways. And a lot of it stayed with us to this day to prepare us for SARS. As far as a dental fixer, what types of new equipment do you think dentists are going to need and is still going to be here that will be used in 10, 20 years? Not some panic thing in the middle of a flash pandemic, but what equipment purchases do you think SARS brought to dentistry to stay?
Well, I don't know about SARS. From a COVID standpoint, I think that what the equipment, there's a lot of different sanitation equipment that's coming out. From in the offices that we're managing, what we've been doing is just practicing safety protocols. Communicating to patients, having them come in only when they're being called for. And we've seen, I believe, in the offices that we've managed, we've seen seven situations pop up from a COVID standpoint, and all seven we verified did not come from the dental practice. People got it prior to coming in. So we didn't buy any special equipment. We just implemented safety protocols, wore the proper PPE equipment, and we've contained it pretty well. So I wouldn't be an advocate for going out and spending money on a bunch of capital equipment. Maybe coming from the dental fix background, I'm the guy that says, try to repair your stuff, and spending a bunch of money on CapEx, unless it's technology. I think that you need to have the latest, having good technology that allows you to do your job better, I think is really important. But I think something like this is going to go away with time once we get a vaccine.
And back to the supply house, there's the consolidation breakup is a known cycle. I mean, when I got out of school, there was a dental supply company on every corner, and then some guys like Pete Frechette at Patterson got a big line of credit, rolled up all these Patterson, Shine, Stan Bergman and Shine did it, and it rolled them all up into, just like Patterson had a quarter, Shine had a quarter, Benco, Burkhardt, another quarter, and the rest all had a quarter. And now I see it breaking up again, where now every time I turn around, there's a new dental supply, buyers club, the internet, social media. The same thing I lived through with beer. I'm Irish, so, when I was in college, there were 1,000 different kinds of beers, and then they all consolidated to Budweiser and Miller, and now they're deconsolidating again. Do you think that... when I got out of school, Orthodontic Centers of America was trying to consolidate orthodontists. Do you think this consolidating the dental offices into these big 1,000 chains like Heartland and Aspen, do you think that's a consolidation curve and then be followed immediately by a breakup curve? Or do you think this industry in 25 years, do you think 5 or 6 companies are probably going to employ 80% of the dentist?
So you hit on two things there. First, I'll hit on the dentist consolidation, and then the distribution consolidation. So the reason there are a lot of good large group DSOs out there. You mentioned, Heartland as an example, and I think they do an amazing job. And the training they provide dentists are fantastic. And it's very, very complicated to run a dental practice. So, I assume that Heartland runs their dental practices from a business standpoint significantly better than an independent dentist will, just because they understand, they've got scale. So I do think that if you do not want to own your own practice and deal with the challenges that come with operating your own business, going to work for a group makes a lot of sense. And I do think that consolidation is going to continue, primarily because it's better for the patient. I think a patient gets a better experience when you go to a group, and the investments that they're making into their infrastructure and technology, it's just a much better experience for the most part than an individual practice. So I think you will continue to see that consolidation. Now, from a distribution standpoint, I think that the distribution consolidation made a lot of sense when it distributed, when it started 20, 30 years ago, and there was no internet. Today, I believe that the distribution model is extremely inefficient. And what needs to happen is we need to connect the dentist, which is the customers, directly to the manufacturers and eliminate the dealers in the middle. And that's part of the strategy that Dental Whale is working on, is we are looking to eliminate the need for the dealer, connect manufacturers direct to their customer, and allow them to communicate to their customers. And, it made a lot of sense to distribute the dealers when I, as the dentist, had to deal with multiple different distributors to get the products I needed. But with the technology that exists today, I really don't understand the why for the dealers. Now, there are some dealers out there that I think do a very good job. I like their models. They're more of a Zappos type model, I'll say, where they've got great customer service. They're low touch. They work on lower margins. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think the big role of dealers, I don't really understand their competitive advantage other than they currently have the lines.
Is the Greater New York meeting still on? I would think you would know that you're on the other coast.
I am unaware that it is on because we usually have a booth, and we don't this year. So I'm assuming that it is not on.
It is still on their website. They have not. I mean, trust me, they have still not canceled it. But the reason I'm asking about it is because the last 4 years, there's been the Men in Black booth with the boys from Amazon, and they just stand there literally with sunglasses on and a suit, and everybody's talking about, did you see those guys over there? If you were Patterson, Shine, Benco, Burkhardt, would you be worried about Amazon, or do you think Amazon only wants the big B2C market? They want all the people buying toothpaste and toothbrushes, not the 12 people buying dental sealer. What are your thoughts on Amazon and the big distributors?
I think that the big distributors need to focus on their customer and say, how do I do what's in the best interest of the customer? And not necessarily look at their own profit margins and their own P&Ls, and figure out how they could innovate their own process of connecting manufacturers to the consumer. And I can tell you that the people from Amazon, that's how they're looking at it as well. The reason that you haven't seen them come in as heavily into the market, from what I see, is because they haven't seen the model that makes sense for them. So I think that once they find that model, you'll see them come more aggressively into healthcare. I think they have to.
Well, it's such a big part of the economy.
Yep.
And then the other thing I want to remind people is that, a lot of times they'll say, well, this other country only spends half as much as on healthcare. Healthcare is a luxury, and rich people all of a sudden are concerned about dying of cancer and global warming. A poor person is just trying to eat food. And the ultimate luxury item is to live one more day of life. The average human lives about 30,000 days, and after you've lived 15,000 days, the other 15,000 are more valuable. And that's what the Mayo brothers bid up. The Mayo brothers started seeing that when they were working in Rochester, when an 85-year-old grandma came in with cancer, everybody would just say, well, she's 85, and let's make her comfortable, and let's just put her down. Because they couldn't take her behind the barn and shoot her, because that's actually illegal and would need Kevorkian for that. But the Mayo brothers found out that, indeed, the entire family was willing to sell the farm and sell the John Deere tractor and do anything to keep an 85-year-old grandmother one more keep living. So as people get richer and richer and richer, they are going to bid up the price of not dying. In fact, Milton Friedman, I love his little blue pill. He says, I say, well, how much is too much money on healthcare? And he says, okay, we'll go up to any mother and say, your baby's going to die. If she buys this pill from me and takes it, your baby won't die. How much will you give me for this pill? And the mother's going to give you a house, car, kids. She'll give you everything to save that baby. So healthcare is going to go up. But Amazon is an interesting one. But the Greater New York meeting is still scheduled November 27th to December 2nd. I've called all my friends in New York, and they go, yeah, it's still on. I actually sent an email to the person, and you know what she replied back to me? Yeah, why? Like, why are you asking? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea why I'm asking. Okay, so I think I've covered the the dental fixer deal. But to be specific, I mean, is it you just fix chairs, compressors, vacuum? I mean, you don't fix the practice management computer system. I mean, is it IT or is it
Yeah,
everything?
Dental Whale has an IT company called Unlimitech IT. So we do all the repairs in an office, from a handpiece to the X-rays.
Okay, and then my other question was, here's a big question for you. You know, Patterson bought EagleSoft in Effingham, which is where the headquarters of Heartland is, and Stan Bergman got a Dentrix, and it was actually Chuck Cohen and Rick Cohen who said, you know, I don't want a Benco to be tied to a practice management system. When you look at when you're saying it's so hard to run a business, I mean, are you running yours with a off-the-shelf software from Dentrix or EagleSoft, or did you make your own practice management system? Or
Yeah.
I see a lot of people going to Open Dental just because it's open and you can go in there and change some things. So, what do you recommend on practice management system?
Definitely something open. You don't want to be tied into something that's not an open system. It's just, if the owner of the software is in the business of selling you supplies and they close the system, the reason the system is closed is because they want to continue selling you the stuff they want to sell you, and they want to control what can connect into that practice or not connect into that practice. So, but what I mean managing the business, what we've built is something called Orca. And the way to look at Orca is a practice management system for the business side of it. So instead of handling all of the clinical information and the patient relationship with the dentist, imagine a software that handles all your procurement, that handles all your facilities, that handles all your repairs, that handles all your communications with your patients, that handles all the marketing with your patients, that where we've got AI listening to the phone calls that are coming in and telling you the intent and what's actually happening to the phone call. One place that you can go to and get all your education that you need to train your staff, to train everybody on how to manage the business. So that's the portion that we're attacking. Is think of it like a CRM system, like a Salesforce for healthcare or for dental, that is going to help you in running your business.
And is that called Orca Dental Whale?
Yeah, well, Orca, yep.
But what's the website?
If you go to dentalwhale.com
Okay.
and see Discover Orca.
Okay, there it is, right there in front of my face.
Yep.
It's okay. So a platform built for dental practices, business management, the Orca. First of all, who's the one infatuated with all these whales? You got whales, you got orcas.
That's me.
That's you.
That's me.
And where's that come from?
It came from my holding company where I started my business, where I started doing different business investments. It's called That Whale. So I've just kind of always kept the whale theme. So made investments through different businesses and just attached the name whale to it.
Here's one of my pet peeves for 30 years since I started lecturing. I mean, you go to a dental office and they're all the same. The hygienist is always in room 1. I don't know if that comes from the Old Testament or whatever, but she's always in room 1. And she just did a clean exam, bite wings. The dentist says, hang on, I got to go do a hygiene check. He comes out of the room, and I say, okay, your hygienist has been here for a decade, just did a cleaning exam and bite wings. Did you net $5.12 after taxes, or do you lose $13? They don't have a clue. And then their next question is, do you think I should get another hygienist? And sometimes after about 4 hours looking at the books, you can tell them, well, by the time you hire your 5th full-time hygienist, you'll go bankrupt. So how do you, why do these doctors never know their numbers? And it seems intuitive that they have half their data in Quicken and QuickBooks Pro, and they pay their taxes on TurboTax, and then the other half of their data is all in Dentrix and EagleSoft, and of course, none of these two systems talk to each other in a bizarre way. Is that the problem? I mean, is Orca someday going to tie into QuickBooks Online and TurboTax? So, I mean, the most uncomfortable phone call each year is when the accountant calls the dentist on April 14th and says, oh, by the way, tomorrow, yeah, you need to write a check to the IRS for $100,000. He's like, what? I only have $98 in my checking account. And I owe them 100 grand. So what is the long-term solution from how you see it?
I think somebody needs to innovate in the industry. I think somebody has to look at what the actual problem is, right? It is practice management, and somebody has to invest into solving that problem. And you're going to solve it with technology. You're going to solve it by answering the right questions, by asking the right questions, and saying, what is the problem and what is the best optimal solution? So, for example, something that we're working on, a huge problem in an office is, people calling to change their appointment, right? So we happen to have a business that does phones, and we answer thousands of phone calls a day to change people's appointment. But when you look at that, what instead of us looking at that business and saying, let's keep that business a call center and let's keep making money on the call center, what we do is we say, how do we take the call center? How do we take these calls and how do we solve that problem? So what we currently have in beta is we've got Amazon Alexa answering the phones and taking those phone calls and integrating directly into your practice management software and automatically changing the appointment. So instead of you having to answer the phone call, you can have Alexa answer the phone call, and she could handle rescheduling the appointment. So, something like that is a tremendous amount of savings for the office. It's a better patient experience for the customer. So we're looking at it from perspectives like that.
Okay, so just to be clear, are you doing all this so like an individual dentist in the middle of Parsons, Kansas can benefit, or are you doing all this for your own chain of DSO empire?
So we don't have a chain of a DSO empire. We do have a subsidiary that we call Dental Entrepreneurs that we are building dental practices with, and we do partner with dentists in that sort of it. But we use the practices that we own more as the beta for what we're doing. So we think one of our biggest competitive advantages is that we are a supplier for dentists, and we're the only one that I'm aware of that actually owns and operates dental practices. So we understand exactly the problems that a dentist has with hiring, training, retaining, answering phones, collecting money, because we do it firsthand. So we do solve the problem beta it for ourselves. And once we have the kinks worked out on ourselves, we roll it out to the market.
And that's called dentalentrepreneur.com?
Dental Entrepreneur Program, yes.
So dentalentrepreneur.program.com?
No, dentalentrepreneur.com or dentalentrepreneurs.com, one of the two.
There it is. So I went to dentalentrepreneur.com. Entrepreneur, that's a tough word. Dental entrepreneur, business beyond the classroom. Well, I was not aware of this website. I swear to God, I try to study for all my interviews, but I missed this one completely. So tell my homies what they're going to find. If they go to dentalentrepreneur.com, what are they going to find on this site?
What we're looking for are dentists that are entrepreneurial, that want to own their own practice. And what we do is work with them to identify locations, whether they want to make an acquisition or whether they want to do a startup. We work with them, help them get their dental practice operated. And for the dentist that is entrepreneurial and is looking to develop multiple practices in a territory, we're the built-in buyer for them. So they buy a practice, operate it. We partner with them, acquire the practice from them, and they continue to buy and operate practices in partnership with us in that territory.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Dentalentrepreneurs.com is very different than Dental Entrepreneur. Dental Entrepreneur is the Henry Schein Dental Business Institute, correct?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's not me. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not.
and Dental Entrepreneurs is you. So another thing I wanted to ask you about, you just can't have a conversation with someone about these subjects they're just so emotional. I mean, talking to a dentist about DSOs is kind of like talking to the Catholic nuns, and I went from Catholic school from kindergarten to the end of college. It's like talking to them about birth control. I mean, it's not going to be a pretty conversation. Do you find it to be emotional like that?
I think for a lot of dentists, it is emotional. And I've had many, it's like politics. One thing I try not to bring up with dentists is, do you want to be part of a DSO or not? Because they're very opinionated for the most part, as kind of you're insinuating. Um, I think the bottom line is the following. Are you at a stage in your career where you want to focus on dentistry? Or are you at a stage in your career where you're trying to maximize your income and create financial wealth? And I think it's based on the individual. If you're looking to go into a private practice, I would ask why. If I'm going to go work with a DSO or partner with a DSO, I'd ask why. And I think the why is very important.
And the other thing is, to me, it's like the I don't care about the dentist, the dental insurance, the dental supply company. I mean, I've always kept one eye on the patient and one eye on cost. And every time I have an idea, I hold up my 5 fingers and say, is your idea faster, better, cheaper, easier, smaller? And when you go to open up your own dental office, my first question to you is there's 168 hours in a week. How would you like your hometown hospital to have an emergency room open 32 hours a week? Don't you kind of like the fact that it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Now, I don't think a dental office needs to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I think 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, the customer would be a hell of a lot happier with that than Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, when the Federal Reserve, which has 3,000 PhD economists who every 10 years put out a report that 1 out of every 3 Americans cannot go to the doctor Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, because they are working, and that's the hours. Like I'll ask a dentist, are you dentist focused? I mean, is it just all about you, or is it about the patient? They go, oh, it's for the patient. And I'm like, well, what are your hours? Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. It's like, you can't make this stuff up, but they truly believe they're patient oriented, and they're just not. So are you saying that a group practice, and by the way, group practice, do you think it's fair to say that the big 3 who got to 1,000, Heartland, Aspen, Pacific, it kind of taints the whole group practice deal. I mean, the average group practice, or in my mind, the average DSO is like 3 locations. It's like some guy is in a small town. He was on the north side, and he ended up building another one on the south, east, west. So when he has 4 offices in a town of 5,000, he can do billboard, radio, and he gets a layer of management. You remember McDonald's, the headquarters, they don't serve Big Macs and treat customers in the headquarters. That's where they will do operations and logistics. So it gives you that one scale of someone in accounting, marketing, HR, 4 or 5 people. And I think that is, I don't know how anybody could compete with that. Now, what I don't quite understand is when a big national one will come in and buy that up, and then they'll need another 17% off the top, and it's like, dude, my lab and supplies isn't 17%. I mean, if you brought my efficiencies of lab and supplies down to 0, so I think group practice in one town or one state with one layer of flat management, just to get a level of management of people who, I'll go into a dental office and say, who are you? And she'll say, I'm Amy Lou. And I go, what do you do here? Are you the dentist? She goes, no, I'm the office manager. Can you hold on a second? Thank you for calling today's dental. How may I help you? Checking in. I said, well, I've been standing here for 15 minutes and you're not an office manager. You sound like you're a receptionist who answers the phone and does scheduling. So just to get a layer of management that doesn't have to deal with consumers seems to be so much more efficient and would be very hard to compete against.
You know, so I think that the large DSOs, from what my experience, they do a great job. They do a very good job. They do a very good job educating the staff and the dentist. I really think that's where they separate themselves. They also have invested into technology, and they got so much purchasing power. So I think the large DSOs do a great job. And I think the small DSOs that you're talking about, and I guess they technically are DSOs, but those are mostly doctors, dentists that are expanding in their community to provide, more reach to their patients. I think where you have a lot of challenges and you have to really ask yourself why, is a lot of these DSOs that I'm going to say are in the middle, that are, I'm a small private equity company, and, anyone sells their business, makes a few bucks, they start a private equity company, and now they're a private equity company, and they all are buying dental offices. And we've dealt with a lot of DSO customers that are great and do a very good job. But then you deal with a lot of them that don't have a why behind what they're doing. And when their why is, we're going to buy offices and we're going to go from 10 to 20 and we're going to make a multiple of EBITDA, that's not a good why behind growing a business. That's usually, my goal is to make money, a financial transaction. And I'd say that would be the category that I'd be a little weary from if I'm a dentist. Do I want to go work for kind of, that type of a DSO? But I think for the most part, most of the larger DSOs are doing a very good job now. They understand the regulations, and they're abiding by them. And what I'm extremely impressed at is just the amount of education that they're giving their staffs.
So who do you put in that top tier? Would it be Aspen, Heartland, Pacific Dental? Is there any others that make that list?
I think a lot of them. American Dental Partners, Northern American Dental. There's so many of them.
And what about MB2?
MB2, I think, is great. I love the way they understand the culture. They're looking for entrepreneurial dentists. I think they've done a very good job. Everyone I've met in that organization is great. I'm friends with Justin, who runs it over there, and he's a great guy. So I think that's why I say, for the most part, most of the DSOs, and we do a lot of business with DSOs. A lot of these DSOs use us for one service or another, and they do a really good job. The ones that are typically the challenge that we've seen are like what I'm describing. The smaller ones that really, the purpose behind it is, I'm going to buy it and flip it and make some money, instead of really building a long-term business. That's my experience.
So then, okay, so Dental Whale, Consolidated, Dental Fix RX, Tralongo, Conversion Whale, Breakaway Practice, Front Desk, and Dental Entrepreneurs? Or is Dental Entrepreneurs, is that part of Dental Whale, or is that separate than Dental Whale?
It's owned by Dental Whale, but we keep it completely separate.
Okay. And I want to ask you a personal question. Having had 4 children who turned into 6, some people don't want to be a business owner. Some people would rather work for somebody else and take orders, and some people like to give orders. I can just tell by just looking at you. You're a confident guy. You're an entrepreneur, a young guy. You were starting this. When you go look at the graduating class of 6,500 each year, all 6,500 of them aren't going to be love entrepreneur more. They're, you got the full spectrum. What percent of that graduating class that just walked out in 2020 do you think really has the mindset of, I would rather work for someone like you and focus on my dentistry and learning how to do a root canal, filling, and crown, versus giving orders and leading people?
That I don't know what percentage I think should, but what I would say is, if I was one of those 6,500 that was graduating, before I said I'm going to go open up my own practice, I would do something like attend a Breakaway advanced startup seminar. I think that those seminars do a great job of explaining to somebody what it takes to open a dental practice, and what is it going to cost, all the different areas of the business that you're going to manage. And I would go educate myself. And I would say, is this something that I want to handle? I would also recommend that they get further kind of clinically trained, so that they could have a larger range of procedure types that they could probably do before they are going into practice for themselves. I've met a lot of dentists, and I always go back to why. Why do you want to own your own practice? And I think that what they need to do is not jump into anything, and not really take advice from, if you're taking advice from somebody, look at where their financial interest is tied to, right? So if I'm taking advice from somebody who's in a business broker who is selling you dental practices, of course they're going to tell you it's a great idea to buy a dental practice. That's the business that they're in. But I would encourage them to be patient. And there is great great training and jobs available now because of the DSO market. I would be patient. That's the advice that I would give. And I would go take seminars such as Breakaway and educate myself a little bit and then determine if it's something that I want to do. And I'd also save up a little bit of money. I see a lot of dentists that open up their own practice and they run out of cash. And that's a serious problem. So
I got to tell the kids something. When he talks about Breakaway, he's talking about Dr. Scott Loon, who when he was on the show, it was actually 173, 174, 170. I had him on 3 times in a row. I think he has one of the highest views. I mean, every one of them had, and this is years ago, 2,000 to 5,000 views. But what I love most about Scott, I went down there, met his wife, kids, San Antonio. I just loved it. But oh my God, talk about the most controversial thing, because it's kind of like the Catholic Church coming down the pipe and legalizing birth control. I mean, all the old Catholics did not want to hear that. You know, when my mom when Ireland legalized birth control, my mom cried for 3 days, and it reminded me when I was 10. That was when the Catholic Church allowed the Mass, instead of being said in Latin, they could say it in our native tongue, whatever we speak in Kansas, English. So they say it. When they switched from Latin Mass, imagine you're 10 years old and you go to Mass and all you hear is, oh, baby, oh, yeah. I had no idea what the hell they were saying. My mom thought it was the end of the world, and that's the reaction Scott Loon gets. When he's out there talking about breakaway practice and all that, the old guard, they want it to be one dentist, one owner-operator till the end of time. So it's an extremely emotional subject. So a breakaway seminar, when you go there, everyone there, God, they just love it. But when they go back home to Katy, Texas, and tell the old 60-year-old dentist on the combine what they just went to, it's not going to be pretty. Is that fair enough? Is that a fair enough assessment?
Yeah, I the reason I partnered with Dr. Luna was primarily because I believed in the philosophies that he taught. And it is very controversial when he's saying build a practice and do it in a much smaller square footprint than a larger square footprint. There's a lot of people that don't like that. And, people are used to working with a lot of space. He's looking at it from the perspective of, I've helped hundreds of dentists, if not thousands at this point, open startup dental practices. And the biggest problem that he has is when they don't follow his methodology and they get looped up with someone who's selling them equipment, or the real estate broker that wants to get them the bigger space on the corner of Main and Main, and they run out of money. And you kind of heard me touch on the fact of, people run out of money. And so there's a lot of controversy around that from what I see. But I think a lot of it, his philosophies are spot on. Lower your rent, lower your footprint, try to outsource as much as you can so that you can scale up and scale down with the business. Use data to operate your business and use data to make the decisions. I agreed with every single thing that I've seen him say. He's been the big preacher of buy lower cost equipment. You don't need all that big equipment out there. And I think it's because he has so much experience at this point, seeing so many dentists go through his program, and many of them are successful. And a lot of them have not been. And it's usually the same story for the ones that have not been. They spent too much money, ran out of cash, opened up, undercapitalized, can't market, and then they hit this kind of vicious spiral.
So his name is pronounced Luna?
Yeah, Scott Luna.
Hell, I've called him Scott Loon for 20 years. That's pretty sad when you know someone 20 years and don't even say their name right. He must not care, because he's never corrected me.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. You're right.
No, I got a D in Spanish, but DSO. It's a but again, when people start arguing about DSO right or wrong, I mean, it's the same thing with I just went to a Delta Dental's annual convention, and some dentist was complaining to the CEO Alan that about all the adjustments he's had to write off. He's like, right, I charge $1,000 for a crown, and I had to write off this adjustment because you don't give me that much. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what an entitled ass. I mean, why don't you just go ask the patient to give you $1,000? Oh, so the patient didn't have $1,000. So now you're screaming at this guy because you have to write an adjustment? I mean, talk about an entitled nut job. And then he doesn't even realize that the only reason he can get $1,000 for a crown is because of the mob-induced violence to keep out all unlicensed dentists. I mean, but before 1900, if you were a dentist from Mexico or France or Canada or anywhere on earth, Brazil, and came here, you'd set up a dental shop. And then in 1900, the mob, whatever you want to call it, the mobsters, that's all they are, is they set up state board of dental examiners in all 50 states. They closed down 90% of all the dental schools, all the unlicensed, all the doctors. And not only did that, because remember, they're there to save you. We're here to protect you. And in protecting you, I practice across the street from the Guadalupe Indian Reservation, 25,000 Mexicans. And people say, well, they're illegal. You mean the land you stole? Okay, so they were living on this land for 15,000 years, and it was called like Tejas, and you steal it, where the cities are San Antonio, San Francisco. So you steal their land, and then the people living on it are illegal? I mean, you can't even make this shit up. But when somebody from Mexico comes up and opens up a dental office and starts treating the poor, I mean, very poor, and a lot of these floors have dirt floors, what does our government do? They send out the police, they arrest them, they kidnap them, they put them in a cage, and they deport them. That's the only reason these dentists are making $100,000 a year. If you turned the state board and the FDA around and said, okay, Howard and Scott are licensed. Okay, we're licensed. Then they say, well, in fact, David Lopez is not a licensed dentist, and he's doing fillings. Okay, well, it's up to the individual to choose. You want to go to David Lopez? And I'll say, well, David, where did you learn dentistry? And he said, from fixing old dental equipment. I'd probably leave. But if you said, well, hell, I was a dentist in Mexico City for 20 years, that's for me to decide. So this guy only makes $100,000 a year because he's in bed with the mob. And then he gets mad at dental insurance companies because they don't give him enough shakedown money. And for me, I don't listen to any of that crap. To me, I got just one eye on the patient and one eye on cost. Because if it costs too much money, this patient doesn't have the freedom to afford to keep their teeth. And new ideas should be faster, better, easier, cheaper, smaller. By the way, I had a dentist email me yesterday, says, I don't like the word when you say cheaper, say higher and say lower in cost. Dude, it's not my problem that cheaper is a trigger word for you, okay? That's between you, your mom, your psychiatrist. It's faster, easier, better, cheaper, smaller. And if you're not doing that, you're not focusing on the patient. Agree or disagree?
I think that I'm for regulation. I look at it a little differently. I think technology needs to solve a lot of these issues. And I think the problem with the reimbursement rates with insurance companies is very similar to what we were talking about earlier with distributors. They need to invest into technology and making this easier to work with them. And insurance companies, make a lot of money making it difficult for you to do business with them. So I think if the government stays out of the business, I'm for regulation, but allows entrepreneurs to invest in. I've seen a ton of people in healthcare that are looking to disrupt and change the way that healthcare is being done. And I think like you're seeing people like Elon Musk come through and, really help with, solar batteries and energy efficient vehicles, et cetera. I think you're going to see entrepreneurs over the next decade coming through dentistry and delivering very interesting solutions for insurance companies, for patients to receive patient care. And I think that's how we're going to see kind of the innovations happen.
So to be clear, Orca, can that do everything a PMS system could have? I mean, does that have all your basic everything that Dentrix or EagleSoft would have, or is this Orca as a supplement layer, kind of like an extra dashboard for a primary system?
I would say the Orca does nothing that a practice management system does. It would be a supplement, an additional platform, but our goal is to make Orca the only platform that you need to use outside of your practice management system.
And I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because I know you're going to say channel conflict, but she's opening up her own office. What practice management software system should she start with? Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, what?
I would, if it was my choice, I'd say open dental because it's open. If you look at Orca, it's
Yeah.
open where it's on our platform. Any developer, anyone that has a SaaS product, anybody that wants to integrate with us could go on to Discover Orca, go to our developer portal, and it's right there. They could tie in with us, and we're open sourcing everything. So,
And I just want to tell the kids out there, I've interviewed 1,500 people just for a podcast, but I've had a monthly magazine since 1994, and probably most of you listening weren't even born in 94. And everybody that's in high tech is aiming first at open dental for what he just said. It's just open. And, and a closed system is not the future. So
if it's closed, you have to ask yourself why. That's it. And if you ask yourself why, you're going to get the answer. And the why is because they only want to integrate with the solutions and the people that they say. And if you look at the people that are integrating them, for the most part, it's the companies they own. So, why do you need to integrate with 3 separate companies that they charge you $500 a month for each of those 3 separate things when those 3 things should be free, right? But this is how these companies make money. So, it needs to be open. And if you're using something that's not open at high, that would be my say would be get something.
And that's really a good answer because it's same thing with regulation or whatever. The first question is why. Why do we need to do this? And then when you hear their why, that's when you run the other way. When you're looking at Orca, a lot of dentists can't figure out it. Is AI more a marketing term? Is it more a sci-fi term? I mean, I know we're coming to the singularity. I just know it's bullshit and it's not going to be in my lifetime. And I'll tell you why I think it's all bullshit. Is my grandson, little Gunner, over Christmas, he's 1. He touched the charcoal, and he touched it, and it was hot. He pulled his hand off it, and he ran, and he never touched it again for 10 days. But what does AI need? Big data. They need millions of observations, trillions of observations. Yeah, my 1-year-old grandson needed 1 observation, and he has natural intelligence, and he never touched again. And some of these claims AI is around the corner. So I want to ask you, is AI in dentistry, is it mostly hype? Is it something that's going to be here 5 to 10? Or is it just bullshit with a capital B?
So I actually, a couple months ago, just completed a educational course on AI, and we're investing millions of dollars into AI. So you just used a great example. Here's the difference with AI. Your grandson burnt his finger. Well, in AI, every other 1-year-old that's ever built, that is ever given birth to for the rest of the world, will never touch the fire because they now know it'll burn them. So that's a perfect example. But what AI does is apply it to every 1-year-old in the world, right? So how we use AI is we listen to phone calls and we use AI. So we use the natural language aspect of artificial intelligence. And what we're able to do when we listen to a phone call is we're able to take out words and tell you what the purpose of the word is. So for example, if somebody's calling your office and they're looking to set an appointment, we're able to determine if an appointment was made or not based on that phone call. If they're asking for a specific type of insurance, we're able to pull out of that phone call what type of insurance that they asked for and if you have it or not. So in your practice, you could look at a report and you could see I received 1,300 phone calls, and 35 of those phone calls were calling and they were asking if I do teeth straightening, and I do not. So with data now that, hey, maybe I should do this teeth straightening thing so I could pick up these 35 patients, or maybe I didn't accept Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and 55 people called me this month and asked, do I take Blue Cross or Blue Shield? Or if I'm one of those dentists that say, I don't have enough patients, but you're getting a phone call and the average time that it takes for you to schedule an appointment is 3 weeks, you're getting the answers because we're using AI to listen to those phone calls and tell you what's going on. I've also seen some amazing applications where they're using visual AI to look at X-rays and diagnose what's going on here with the patient and act as a second opinion for the doctor. So I think you're going to see tremendous improvements in healthcare because of AI, and I think it's going to be applicable specifically to the clinical side, helping dentists make better decisions. And then you're going to see people like us that are investing into AI very heavily so that we could help you buy your products better, and that we could help you answer your phones better, and we could help you communicate to your patients better.
So I got to tell you a couple of um, examples of when I'm so old. AI, when I got out of school, was just algorithms, and this Israeli firm was writing dental insurance companies' algorithms. For instance, 98.5% of the crowns at this time were billed as a single unit. So an algorithm, which is just a sort, pulled out that here's this dentist friend of mine, and half of his crowns were billed as two. So that just showed up a red flag. So they came in his office, and what my friend was doing was a person come in and say David come in, and David comes in, David, you need a crown. It's $1,000, and insurance pay half, and you need 500 the other half. Or what we could do is I'll bill them for two. They'll pay half of both, and then nothing will be out of your pocket. So he was only doing it with friends and family and all of his great friends and family, and the insurance company came along and found out. And the ones he was doing in the state of Arizona is a civil deal. But the ones that insurance across the straight line was a federal deal, and he got to go sit in a cage for 5 years. And now we have AI with reading radiographs, and now some amazing dentist lover in San Diego was not only not doing a root canal, but she was sending in the same x-ray. And she sent in like the same x-ray for like 10 root canals. And now she's going to go sit in a cage for a long time. So I actually think, this is what I'm going to guarantee young kids. When I opened up my dental office, about the only way you could embezzle from me, you'd have to steal a check, forge my signature at the bank. But now in this modern world of technology, your paper trail is so long and it's so digital, I don't even know where you would hide. I mean, I think there's going to be 100 more ways to embezzle money out of a dental office and 1,000 more ways to get caught.
Yeah, I think technology is definitely going to be used for cases like that. It isn't difficult for an insurance company to invest a little bit of money into technology to do exactly what you just said. So yeah, I think AI is gonna definitely catch a lot of fraud that's happening.
So I want to ask you, this is kind of a vague question, but I mean, to me, my gosh, I wouldn't even know where to start if I was you, because we look at this average dental office that does $750 a year, and the average dentist is what I have here. So we look at the average dental office. If a dentist owns their own practice, they're making $244. If they're an employee, $147. But let's just say that you own your own practice and you're making $250. To make $250, look how crazy it is. This is numbers I believe, and tell me where I'm completely wrong. But about 100 people have to land on your website for one to convert and call your office. About 3 people have to call your office before your inefficient, untrained call center girl converts one to come in. And then 3 people have to come in with a cavity before you can treatment plan present and get one person to a filling. So to do this $750,000, let's say it's all in fillings, to do $750,000 worth of fillings, you have to have 3 times that many come in because of your treatment plan conversion. You have to have 3 times as many people land on your website. It's like, I look at that funnel, it's like, dude, you could just fix anything along that funnel and double your whole practice. So is that kind of how you see the funnel?
What you described is very real. And there's practices that we see, the first business that we rolled into and applied AI was in Conversion Whale. And Conversion Whale, I like to say that we're a pretty large dental marketing company, but I kind of tout us as we probably lost more customers than any other dental marketing company in the country. And the reason is fascinating. People cancel your marketing because they're not getting patients, right? But what's happened with us now that we're listening to all the phone calls using AI is we understand why. So when you start to understand why you're not getting patients, what that allows you to do is fix it. So I think what you just described is exactly, is in essence part of why Dental Whale exists. is we want to fix something like that. And we want to be able to provide the individual dentist or the DSO business the transparency into serving their patients better. So I think the key is understanding the 100 leads that you're getting, understanding the money that you spend to generate those leads, and let me determine which of the leads that are working for me and which of the leads that are not. You got to be able to track those leads to understand it. And then let me understand the people that are calling, what is the reason they're making appointments and what is the reason that's not. Let's fix that. But I would say starting at the top of the funnel, generating a lead is where I would start. And I would follow the customer journey. So I always like to say, if you're any business, not just a dentist, put yourself in your customer's shoes. Go on the internet, find your dental office. When you find your dental office, submit the lead. Call your office, go through that practice and see what that experience is like for yourself. Breakaway, they actually do that in some of their seminars. In the middle of the seminar, they will call offices that are owned by dentists that are in the room, and you'll see that exact scenario play out, and you will call and have it. And then he calls the call center and has the same conversation, and you could see the difference. And it's really around data, information, and training.
Data information, dude. I do the same thing. I mean, a dentist will come over here and I'll say, well, who do you forward your calls to? Or, my Martha's there, and you call, it goes right to voicemail. And he's like, damn, we take lunch 12 to 1. It's 20 till 12. Throw it on voicemail. If she answers the phone, I just love doing it. Just come out of the voice, say, yeah, I just moved here from Kansas, and my last dentist told me I needed 3 crowns. Do you do crowns? Yes, we do. Can you do all 3 at the same time? Yes, we can. Okay. Thank you very much. He says, well, have a nice day. And I'm like, didn't get my name, no follow-up, didn't try to close. I mean, what is a loose metric? I know it's hard to generalize. You can't say that all 150,000 dentists do this, just like you can't say all Irish are drunk. Only 38% of Irish are alcoholics. The other 62% just drink heavily. What letter grade would you give the 150,000 dental offices answering the phone on being able to convert you to come in and schedule your butt in a chair? What would be the letter grade for 150,000 offices?
I would say the majority that I'd see, I'd give a D or an F.
Yeah, I know. So I want to ask you another question about that. Another thing that dentists have, I mean, love my homies, but they're weird. Some of them are very weird. Like they'll spend all their time learning TMJ and temporomandibular disorders. And I get it. It's phenomenally interesting, but it's like 1% of their revenue. And I'll say, well, have you ever thought about maybe doing Invisalign? And they're like, I'm not interested in that. Okay, but I just wish you weren't interested in something that had such a small market. If you were coming out of school, it looks like there's 2 paths. There's blood and guts, pulling teeth, pulling wisdom teeth, placing implants. And then there's soft and pretty stuff, bleaching, bonding, veneers, Invisalign braces. What do you think is a more profitable path if you had to pick blood and guts or soft and pretty?
I'm of the belief that you can do great in anything. One of the wealthiest people that I know sells brooms, and that's what the family does, right? And they're very good at the broom business. So what I would say is, what is your passion? What is your why? And get very good at that. So if you're into the more cosmetic side, yeah, you can make a great living with the cosmetic. And there's a lot of people that want to go to see a great cosmetic dentist. But I think most of the efficiencies that are going to be brought into helping dentists make more money is we need people such as Dental Whale, like what we're trying to do, to invest into the actual operation of the business side of dentistry. We need to make it easier for your 100 leads that come in to become a higher percentage of them to schedule an appointment. We need to make it more cost effective. We need to figure out how we could automate your 100,000 phone calls so that if they want to make an appointment, they just make it online. Or if they're going to need to speak to someone on the phone, they could speak to someone every single time they call, and that appointment can be made for them. I think things like that are going to really eliminate a lot of waste that exists in dentistry. There's just so much waste. And when you really look at how much waste there is, the advancements that we as a dental community need to make in the business of dentistry, I think are going to shave a lot of that waste away and are going to help the entire industry benefit.
Man, I'll tell you what, you are an amazing optimist. The way you took the fact that your mother-in-law rides around on a broom and is a witch, and then converted it to that story. I mean, that was just beautiful. How do you price something like this? I mean, I'm on Conversion Whale, and by the way, I don't do commercials. I made my money the old-fashioned way. I just lived a real long time. Conversion Whale. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, you couldn't look at this and say, oh, it's $99 a month or it's $9.99 a month. I mean, you have so much stuff. My homie listened to this, and what I've been saying is that if you just want to learn endo and TMJ and bleaching, bonding, veneers, you still got to compete with DSOs. And I think there's going to be a huge market for companies like yours that say, well, I'm just a onesie. Can you give me the tools necessary to compete with someone who's 1,000-y? So how do you price a conversion well when you have all these different things that you do from?
Oh, well, it depends on the solution that you want. But I'd encourage you, Howard, if you're on the website, do a practice analysis for yourself. So do it for your practice now that you're on it. And I think it'll give you a little glimpse into the thought that we've put into the technology for marketing. But what I'll say is if a dentist is using Conversion Whale, they are getting the most advanced marketing services available in healthcare, period. I have not seen another marketing company in all of healthcare that is able to deliver leads and understand what's going on with the leads that are coming into your practice. I haven't seen anyone that has anything close to what we're doing. I haven't seen another person use the AI applications the way that we're doing it. So I'd say the individual dentist using Conversion Whale most likely is going to have, unless the DSO is also using Conversion Whale, is going to have a better marketing platform and it's going to have a better understanding of what's going on in their practice. But we've got a lot of DSOs using it, and it's the same application that we provide to an individual dentist.
And by the way, you're into whales. That's cool, and you have the Conversion Whale. And then you have your other products at Orca. But regarding TMJ, sleep apnea, and mouth breathing, you need to call that product the Dolphin, because you know that blowhole out the back? You know that blowhole?
Yeah.
That's their nose. Their nose migrated back. And if we could just move our nose to the back of the head like a dolphin, all that sleep apnea shit it'd be solved. That's what I want to do. I want to learn how to just get a big drill hole and drill holes in the back of people's head and then move their nose back there. And if you know anybody who flies a broom when they go to the store, maybe that'll be my first patient. So if you had to prioritize that funnel, do you think they have and by the way, I've always said on this program going 4 years back, never ever start a dental advertising company, a marketing company. That's the worst idea, because you could go out there and do everything right, generate 100 calls to their telephone, and she doesn't convert any of them, and then then the dentist blames on you. Oh, I tried that David Lopez guy, wasted all my money, because he doesn't believe that his perfect little Katie Lou answering the phone up front. What do you think the conversion call is? I want them to hear from you. If 100 people called up the average dentist in America and was talking about, they hadn't had their teeth cleaned, whatever, what would the conversion rate be, and what could it be?
What could it be? And I am not 100% sure that this is the most recent number, but I want to say that we're converting 68% of the phone calls that are coming in. And what have we seen? We've seen it under 10%. I mean, the number one, you hit it on the head. I started a dental marketing company, and what we realized is, as we were losing customers, the why behind us losing the customers, because just because we're generating you the lead, that isn't the solution that you're looking for as a dentist. What you're looking for are patients, and generating a lead that then you as a business owner are not able to schedule. I mean, it's actually worse than you marketing at all, because now you're spending money and throwing away that money. So we invested into the technology to solve that problem. So with us, what you will know without question is how many times that phone rang, what the outcome was of every single phone call that you got. And we even tie production values to it. So you could see mathematically, I had 100 phone calls where they were asking for fillings and we did not schedule that appointment. And you put in what that cost you and it extrapolates out the price so you can see it. So what we've done is we've made it very transparent for the dentist to then see, oh shit, what's my problem? And then we help them through that journey and say, well, look, you got two choices here. Go to like a front office rocks and get that training and get the training to train your staff, right? Or we can answer the phones for you. And but the real solution is we don't even want to answer the phones. We want Alexa answering the phones. We want the customers just going to your website and scheduling the appointment. We want to make that interaction with the patients much easier so that they do schedule an appointment with you. And I think, when you look at somebody like Amazon, when you're buying something from an Amazon, you're not speaking to somebody. It doesn't have to be as difficult as we've made it. And I think you're going to see investments into technology improve these numbers significantly.
So I'm just curious. Everybody's probably listening. Scott Luna has been on the show 3 times, and Laura Hatch has been on 3 times. It's tight. In fact, you're the only one that's been on once. You're behind the 8 ball, buddy. Are they still with you? What is Scott, Luna, and Laura Hutch doing these days?
Yeah, so they still do the same thing. So Scott, Dr. Luna, still runs Breakaway. He still lectures as his advanced startup program, his business mastery program. Dr. Luna is also on the board for Dental Whale. He speaks to me a lot about, I'll say, kind of vision stuff. What I love about Luna is that out of all the dentists that I've worked with, he had the same vision and believes the same things that I believe in. So a lot of the things that you're hearing me say, it should be better, it could be better. He believed that same thing years ago, and he put his money where his mouth is and built Breakaway, and was one of the first people that offered what I'm going to call DSO level infrastructure to the individual dentist. And Laura is with us. She actually still runs Front Office Rocks, as well as she leads the entire education program for Dental Whale. And when our dentists come on to Orca and they're using one of our services, Laura is the leader who is curating all the content that's going to be available for all the dentists that are on our platform. So she's amazing. I love Laura. She's one of the most likable people that I know. But she's got an amazing perspective because she worked in the office. She worked in the front desk. She was the office manager.
I want you to arrange. You're a deal maker. I want to. We can do the Brady Bunch thing. I want to bring back Scott and Laura at the same time, and then we got to bring you back because you've only been on once. I mean, that's just so amateur. But bring back the 2 legends, because then does that sound funner than what?
I think that's a great idea. I think it would be great to have myself and Luna on as well.
Yeah, and
I won't have anything to say though, because between the 2 of them, they'll. I'll just sit there and listen. They're much.
Well, I just want to say that I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. And I'm completely aware. I mean, I call it Dentistry Uncensored because I know where your trigger points are. And nobody likes change. Nobody likes it going into the future. But I don't really care what dentists like. You know what I'm worried about? I got 4 kids turned into 6 grandkids. And I'm really, really glad I never drowned any of my kids or anything, because the grandkids are even better than the kids. And I'm at the stage in my life as... my dad died at 61, and both my grandfathers died at 61. I'm 58. I'm not saying I'm dying at 61, but I'm well aware that Gunnar and Mason are going to live a shitload longer than I am because they're 1 and 2, right? And I'm worried about my what dentistry is going to look like for my grandchildren. And if I don't want them going, if they go into some place that's owned by Wall Street and an MBA, or it's owned by a dental insurance company, then where's Gunnar and Mesa going to go when they need a dentist? You know what I mean? I want them to go into a dentist. And I believe that's all I care about. I'm a selfish bastard that just wants to leave dentistry better than I found it on behalf of just my 6 grandkids. But is there anything you wanted to come on the show and talk about today that I wasn't smart enough to ask?
I think your questions were great. But, I'll kind of reply to your comment. I would say that if you want dentistry to be much better for the grandkids, what we have to do is really push for change. And if you're not happy with what's happening with your phone ringing and your leads, um, find somebody else. Find somebody else that can do it better. And don't be afraid of the change. A lot of things such as AI are going to make healthcare, dentistry significantly less expensive, significantly. It's going to allow dentists to, and I've seen dentists get railroaded. It's hard. It is very, very hard to be a dentist. And, just because you don't have the proper technology in your facility to be providing the standard of care that you should, it's funny because you use the example of, a minority dentist that isn't licensed. There's a lot of what I'm going to call old school dentists that have zero technology in their office that are still on paper charts. Going to one of those dentists with no technology, with no practice, I mean, it's pretty similar. And what we have to do as, I think, a dental group is invest into that change, be on the forefront of the technology, welcome people to bring AI into dentistry, make it easier for dentists to have AI scanning all their x-rays so they could look at the treatment that they're going to do. Work with companies that are looking to make the patient's experience more efficient. And I think that those changes are going to be what makes the dental industry continue to thrive and to get more efficient. And thriving for the dentist is one thing, but what we really need to do is, our purpose is to improve dental health for everybody, right? And how do we improve dental health for everybody? By making it more efficient, by making the business aspect of dentistry more efficient. That's going to make it better for everybody. And, we're not perfect by any means at Dental Whale, but we go to work every day, and that is what we're focused on. We're saying, how should this be done? How can this be done better? This is the way, we've got a call center. Some people would be very happy with the call center that we have. And some people, I took the call center that we had. We took the call center Dr. Luna had. We merged it together. We had a big call center doing a lot of calls, generating a lot of revenue. We're not the organization that leaves the call center alone and continues to bill the people what we're billing. What we're figuring out is how can we answer those calls more efficiently? How could we convert a higher percentage of those calls to appointments? And if we could replace the calls with Amazon Alexa, and that's going to reduce your bill by 70%, well, then that's what we need to do. And we need to figure out how to do that and push that forward. So, I think being open for change is very important. And I think we're seeing that. I think a lot of the dentists that are graduating from school now, they're used to the easy button, I call it. They're used to pushing a button on their phone and something showing up at their front door. So I think that they're going to welcome these new technological advances into dentistry. And I think that we're going to hit eventually a bell curve. And let me tell you something else. The large DSOs are welcoming it as well. The large DSOs, even the medium-sized DSOs, when they look at what we're doing, for example, they're starting to use it. They're starting to implement it. They're starting to put these things into their systems because they're seeing it's just more efficient.
And let me tell you, kids, what you're competing against. I've been to Heartland, its headquarters in Effingham, Illinois. Have you ever been to Effingham, Illinois?
I've had the fortunate pleasure of flying on their private plane when they flew me and the entire leadership team out there to their corporate offices. It was very impressive.
Well, if you don't know where Effingham is, it's out in the middle of effing nowhere. And when I saw their call center, I asked Rick, I said, so what's the plans here? And he says, well, our complete barrier constraint to growth is we've hired everyone in Effingham. And then Aspen, I went and met Bob Fontana at his call center here in Arizona. It's in this huge building, the most amazing people. And I said, could I use your call center? He goes, are you kidding me? This is only for our locations. And my God, he thought it was probably might account for a third of his success. And then the dentist that I was with, same thing. He said, no way. And I'm like, dude, every time I call your office, it goes to voicemail. And I can see your car parked out in the parking lot, and it's going to voicemail. So yeah, can I just ask one last question, though? I know we're into double overtime. My gosh, Dental Town has had classified ads since '99, and there's always about 5,000 classified ads, and usually it's about 1,000 dental practices for sale and about 4,000 jobs available. Now it's 2,000 practices for sale and only 1,000 jobs available. And so a lot of people that are my age, as long as you didn't get divorced, I mean, if you never get divorced, you can retire from dentistry at 60. You get divorced one time, it's going to be 70. And you get divorced twice, you'll actually die at the chair. Trust me on this. A lot of them, that had never been divorced, sit there and said, PPE bullshit. I'm out of here. I'm just selling it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Are you still seeing a bunch of old guys say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to do this shit and selling it? And then the $1 million question that the kids are answering, I get this all the time on Dental Town. They're like, is it kind of dumb to buy a practice in the middle of a pandemic? So can you just give me your rant on the dental transaction business in the middle of a pandemic, because you obviously own Tralongo, right, which is buying and selling practices.
Yeah. We're a DSO. We do have a segment of our business that we operate practices. I want to hit on two things here. So you were talking about the Aspen call center, and then should you buy dental practices? So first, let me hit on the call center. The DSOs are not allowed to own a dental practice, right? So, and I'm not sure if all your listeners understand that, but the technical, what's actually happening when you affiliate with a DSO is they don't own your clinical practice. What you're doing is signing a long-term services contract with them. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I am outsourcing all of the business stuff that I am going to use this DSO. I'm outsourcing that to the DSO. And what the DSO's business is doing those services very well so that they can make more money, right? They want to make your patient's life easier, your patient's life easier, but they're trying to make money. The reason that DSOs centralize their services is because they're more efficient and they do it better that way. So if you are an individual dentist who is operating everything in your practice, I highly recommend you look at outsourcing your services, because at scale, every one of those services are going to get done better than what you're doing in your office. So, that's one thing I want to hit on, because you can use call centers. There are other call centers outside of Dental Whale that also answer phones. And I would pretty much guarantee that they're better at answering the phones than you are as a dentist. So anything that you can do to get help, outsource it, provide your patient a better customer experience. I think as a dentist, it's very important. And then, should you be buying dental practices? What I've seen during this COVID pandemic is the practices are back. The majority of them, the ones that are active in marketing, answering their phones, they're back. Our dental practices are operating above budget significantly. So yeah, I would say it's a great time to buy a dental practice. But I would look at what dental practice do you want to buy? I'd really understand the facility. What does the facility look like? What type of investment do you have to make into that facility? And then what's the transition plan with the dentist that's staying on? That's very important that you transition that relationship. If done right, it could help the retiring dentist as well as the new dentist coming in make a lot of money. So I absolutely think you should look at buying dental practices. I also think it's a tremendous time to look at doing a startup practice. I heard that Bank of America is about to start lending again, and I know a lot of the local banks are now lending again on startup dental practices. Right now is a great time to get real estate. We're seeing a lot of real estate deals, and I think they're going to get better with a little bit more time. So absolutely, I think that we need more dentists. We need more dental offices. Our population continues to grow. So I think it's a great time to open or purchase a dental practice.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, they're only 5% of Americans have ever been to a chiropractor. Every single American will go to a dentist. They're born with 32 teeth, 20 baby teeth. They got 52 things that's going wrong. Dentistry ain't going nowhere. It was a huge honor that you accepted my invitation to come on the show. Thank you for coming on. I mean, you see this dental industry at 30,000 feet. And if you ever want to come back and bring my two all time. I mean, Laura's been on 3 times. Scott's been on 3 times. Between the two of them, their views were off the charts. So if you ever want to come back, and
We do.
it'll be fun.
It'll- we will. So I don't know if you want me to message you or if you want to message me, but I'll.
No, you message me or whatever. I'm Howard at Dental Town, and also I'll fly out there and visit you when you start your dolphin company, when you start boring holes in the back of humans' heads and doing the nose rearrangement. I actually want to see the first one, and.
If you're ever in South Florida, reach out to me. I'd love to do lunch or dinner.
All right, buddy. We're in South Florida, Miami.
Fort Lauderdale, but Miami's fine as well.
Do you know Cesar Sabatez?
No.
Oh my God, he's my classmate from UMKC Dental School. Born in Cuba, came here when he's 7. He's going to be the he's the president-elect. But
I'd love to meet him. I'm Cuban as well.
Oh, are you Cuban?
I'm Cuban and Dominican, born in Miami. I'd love to meet him.
Oh my gosh! Well, if you, me, and Caesar go out for dinner, you won't be able to go back to work for at least 3 days.
Well, consider it done. Just let me know when you're here, and I'll set it up. And I will definitely get this email to you, Howard, and get Laura and Scott on as well.
Okay, and I'll send you an email, introduce you and Caesar.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. Have a rockin' hot day.
You too. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.